Heartwarming revelation, incredible moment in court as officer discovers judge's hidden identity. In the heart of Maplewood, the summer sun poured over the town like golden syrup, and life moved at a gentle pace. The local diner buzzed with laughter as townsfolk shared stories over slices of pie. But beneath this jovial exterior lay an unsettling tide. Reports of petty thefts had begun to circulate, stolen lawn ornaments, groceries swiped from porches. Families teetered on the edge, whispering anxiously about their neighbors, their sense of community fraying. Officer Jamie Collins, 28, felt the weight of struggling families heavy on his shoulders, rooted in his own upbringing by a hard-working, single mother. He longed to provide for his spirited younger sister while proving to those who dismissed him as just a beat cop that integrity and loyalty mattered. Everything changed when Jamie learned about Mrs. Wilkins, a frail elderly woman beloved for her kindness. The news hit him hard. She faced eviction over a misguided lease violation. Ignoring the scoffing remarks from his colleagues and the swirling gossip about Mrs. Wilkins, Jamie felt deep within him an unshakable urge to act. "This is wrong," he said, determination shining in his eyes as he squared his shoulders and made his way to the courtroom, ready to fight for justice. As he took his place before Judge Ellen Smith, who ruled the courtroom like a queen, her sharp gaze was unforgiving. Jamie felt vulnerable under her scrutiny, and as he painted Mrs. Wilkins' plight with words full of compassion and community love, he noticed the judge's disdain. Tears in his eyes, he sought to convey the compassion burgeoning in his heart, cutting through the tension like a knife. Yet the judge remained resolute, authority spilling from her presence like a storm cloud. It was a daunting battle, feeling like he was trying to sway the very system that had often failed his community, but then, something extraordinary happened. Jamie stumbled upon an old newspaper clipping during his preparations. It told of young Ellen Smith, a single mother battling to raise her daughter while putting food on the table. The stark revelation of shared struggle struck him. His heart swelled as realization dawned. This judge, seemingly indifferent, had known hardship, had walked a road paved with the same obstacles he now fought against. Could it be that within her weary gaze lay a hidden compassion? A flicker of hope sparked in his chest. Before Jamie could voice this newfound understanding, the courtroom erupted into chaos. A commotion broke the solemn atmosphere, causing everyone to pause, drawing eyes away from where Jamie stood bearing the weight of Mrs. Wilkins' fate and his own pride. Would he be able to seize this moment? Would Judge Smith's past be the bridge between them, allowing him to reach her empathetic center? A collective holding of breath settled over the room, the townspeople sharing a moment of silence, holding on to their hope for a beloved neighbor's future. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The emotions in the courtroom were palpable, the stakes were straining the air around Jamie. He desperately sought the right words that might resonate with Judge Smith, stirring the depth of her own struggles, awakening the empathy buried underneath layers of authority. For a brief moment, the world around him fell silent, the crackling tension waiting to see if Jamie's heartfelt plea would penetrate the wall around her heart, or if it would shatter like glass. Would he find a way to connect with the very person who held the power to save Mrs. Wilkins? Would the community's hope be enough? The weight of fate hung heavy as the room leaned closer together, hearts against the chaos, waiting, wanting, needing resolution. What would unfold in that moment could mean everything for Maplewood, and for Jamie. Jamie felt the air thicken as he stood before Judge Smith. His heart raced, pushing him forward even as doubt crept in. Could one man's plea unravel the years of hardened authority in the judge? Could it turn the tide for Mrs. Wilkins and restore hope to their fragile community? With a deep breath, he locked eyes with the judge, a silent challenge passing between them. "Your Honor, no, you are not just a figure of authority," he began, his voice steady but filled with passion. "You've faced struggles, just like Mrs. Wilkins. This is more than a case, this is about people, our community. She represents all of us. The courtroom remained still, every pair of eyes fixed on Jamie. His plea echoed, resonating with the townsfolk who sensed they were at a precipice. What if Ellen Smith, the judge they feared, could be something more, their voice, their ally? For a moment, he saw a flicker in her expression, a softened brow and a tremor at the corner of her mouth, as if her tightly held mask was slipping, revealing the woman beneath. It wasn't just authority that defined her, it was a past one marked by love, sacrifice, and determination. Jamie pressed on, sharing anecdotes of Mrs. Wilkins, about her kindness, the way she knitted blankets for the children each winter. Judge Smith, he continued, his voice thick with emotion, remember those moments of generosity? Those people who stood by you when the world felt heavy? Mrs. Wilkins is one of those lights. Do we extinguish it just for the sake of rules? As the words flowed from him, he felt the energy shift in the room. The tension, once so taut, cracked like ice under the sun. Jamie caught a glimpse of something, perhaps it was compassion or perhaps understanding shining through Judge Smith's stoic exterior, but before the moment could fully blossom, the chaos from earlier erupted again as a young man burst into the courtroom, breathless, wild-eyed. "Wait!" he shouted, and all heads turned in surprise. Jamie's heart sank, he braced himself, for this disruption felt like a cruel twist of fate. The moment they'd been building towards hung precariously now, and he could feel the hope wavering in the room. "Please, I have information about the thefts," the young man exclaimed, desperation coloring his voice. The community had been on edge for weeks, but Jamie felt the muck thickening again, the air filled with uncertainty. Would this new revelation prove to be a stroke of luck or another calamity to darken their spirits? Judge Smith's face shifted, her authority momentarily shaken. "What do you know?" she demanded, her voice firm. As the young man began to speak, Jamie couldn't shake the sense of dread mingling with anticipation. Was this new turn of events going to lead them into the light they desperately sought or plunge them further into shadows? He turned and scanned the faces in the crowd. The anxiety, the worry, it hung heavy like a dark curtain. The judge's expression remained unreadable, but a flicker of recognition flashed in her eyes. Whatever this young man had uncovered could change everything. The specter of justice lingered in the air, and with it, Jamie felt the stakes rise even higher. Would they find the truth? And could it help him connect with the heart of Judge Smith before it was too late? He stood on the brink of an emotional maelstrom, hope interwoven with fear, ready to fight for what was right. What truth would the young man unveil? Would this be the turning point for Mrs. Wilkins, or would it lead the community down a darker path? The young man took a shaky breath, his hands trembling as he pointed towards the judge. "I saw him. I saw the one who did it," he shouted, his voice rising with urgency. All eyes shifted to him, a collective gasp echoing through the room. Jamie's heart quickened. Whatever this revelation was, it had the potential to unravel every thread they had been weaving for Mrs. Wilkins. "Who are you talking about?" Judge Smith pressed, her voice sharp, cutting through the noise. She leaned slightly forward, her eyes narrowing, and Jamie could see the wall of authority around her starting to crack. It was almost like watching ice melt under the sun. Something was beginning to shift. The man with the mark on his neck. He was the one seen stealing from the Wilkins house. The young man's eyes darted, as if he feared the implications of his words. Jamie felt the room's energy tighten again, filled with anticipation and fear. "Where did you see him?" Judge Smith demanded, her tone now tinged with a different urgency, one that Jamie couldn't decipher. "In the alley behind the diner," he admitted, his voice lowering, "I was just passing by. I saw him with the bags and money, Your Honor. It all happened so fast, but I swear I saw him." A murmur rippled through the crowd, the weight of his words settling like heavy stones. Jamie felt the adrenaline pumping through his veins, his eyes darting between the judge and the townsfolk. Could this lead to a breakthrough? Or was it simply another dead end, another layer of complexity to an already tangled mess? Judge Smith straightened up slowly, a glimmer of resolve lighting her features. Did anyone else witness this? She asked, scanning the room. An uneasy silence followed, a silence that seemed to pulsate with tension. Then, from the back of the courtroom, an elderly woman raised a shaking hand. I saw a shadow too, she said, her voice barely above a whisper but enough to send goosebumps down Jamie's spine. When I was taking out the trash that night. I just thought it was my imagination. Him too. The young man pointed. He's been quiet since the whole thing started. We need to get the truth out. Jamie felt the weight of the world lift off his shoulders ever so slightly. They held the keys to their own freedom. He could almost taste it, but something nagged at him. Was this enough to sway Judge Smith? In that moment, Jamie noticed her expression shift again. The poised facade of authority began to crumble further, and he wondered if she, just like them, had been waiting for hope a crack in the darkness. "Thank you," Judge Smith said, her voice barely above a whisper. For the first time, Jamie saw vulnerability beneath her stern exterior. "I have to investigate this. We can't let this community be dragged further into despair." His heart soared, but a flicker of doubt slipped in. Would this turn of events be enough to bring about change? Could they unearth the truth before it choked their chance for redemption? The tension in the air grew thicker as they awaited her decision. Jamie caught sight of Mrs. Wilkins' hopeful gaze from the back of the courtroom. Her fragile smile sent a pulse of encouragement through him. But just as the judge began to marshal her thoughts, a loud banging echoed from outside the courtroom, the sound of chaos spilling into their fragile moment of clarity. "Something's happening." Someone yelled, and the crowd scrambled, an electric jolt of fear running through everyone present. Jamie's heart raced. What new storm had arrived on their doorstep? Would it dash their hard-won hope against the rocks, or was this yet another twist in a tale that seemed to stretch endlessly? Time felt suspended, and Jamie could hardly breathe, staring as the door burst open, bracing himself for whatever reveal was about to shake their world once more. The courtroom door swung open with a crash, and in rushed Officer Daniels, his uniform drenched and his expression wild with urgency. The buzz of chatter quieted down, shifting into a tense silence as all eyes turned to him. Jamie could see the chaos reflected in the officer's wide eyes, and his heart sank. "What is going on?" Judge Smith demanded, her authoritative voice shaking despite the strength of her posture. "There's been an incident outside," Officer Daniels panted, scrambling to catch his breath. We think the man the young witness saw might be targeting someone else." A ripple of confusion moved through the crowd. Questions erupted like firecrackers, voices layered upon each other in a cacophony of panic. "What do you mean? Who is it? Is everyone safe?" Jamie felt his stomach churn at the implications. "If someone was in danger, listen, please." Officer Daniels raised his voice, trying to cut through the chaos. "We need to act quickly. There's a group of people outside, looking suspicious. They're gathering as if something bad is about to happen. We believe they might have connections to the man with the mark on his neck." Jamie exchanged anxious glances with Mrs. Wilkins, who looked ready to crumble. The hope they had started to build felt like it was on shaky ground again. Judge Smith stepped forward, her commanding presence reasserting itself. "What do you suggest, officer? We can't let them take control of this situation. Let us send someone to confront them." The officer offered, urgency coloring his tone. "But we also need to protect the witnesses. I want them to stay safe until we figure this out." Judge Smith nodded, determination reflected in her eyes as she faced the crowd again. "We will strengthen the security outside. I want everyone to remain calm and stay here until we know more. No one leaves." Her voice soothed some of the tension, but Jamie could feel the undercurrent of fear still surging through the room. As Officer Daniels rushed outside again, Jamie's mind raced. He thought about the young man who had spoken up. What if they took action too soon? What if the man he claimed to have seen had allies lurking in the shadows? The dread coursing through him was heavy, like an anchor dragging him deeper, but he couldn't shake the sense that they were on the verge of uncovering something monumental. The room began to buzz with a different kind of urgency as the townsfolk shared whispered speculations, clinging to each other for comfort. Jamie found Mrs. Wilkins' hand searching for his, and when they connected, a wave of solidarity washed over him. "Do you think they'll be okay?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. "I hope so," Jamie replied, striving for a calmness he didn't feel. "But we don't know what they're up against. We have to believe that this will lead us closer to the truth." As the minutes dragged on, the courtroom felt like a pressure cooker, everyone tensed and worried about the storm brewing outside. Suddenly, the doors creaked open again, but this time, it wasn't just Officer Daniels returning. A figure stepped into the light, face hidden beneath a hood, and the courtroom went silent. "What do you want?" Jamie's voice broke through the air, unsteady but filled with a raw challenge, but the figure merely lifted a finger to their lips in a gesture of silence. The tension thickened as they took a step forward, revealing a glimpse of their face just enough to send a chill down Jamie's spine. "Who are they? What did they know? And how were they connected to all of this?" Jamie's heart thundered in his chest. They were about to find out. The figure stopped just beyond the threshold, the hood casting deep shadows over their features, obscuring any hint of their intentions. Every second stretched like taffy, the courtroom still enveloped in a thick, suffocating silence. Jamie's gaze darted around the room, searching for confirmation in the faces of those around him. Mrs. Wilkins looked as confused as he felt, eyes wide and glistening with unspoken questions. Judge Smith stepped forward, her voice steady despite the undercurrent of fear that permeated the air. "Who are you?" she demanded. The figure lowered their hood slightly, revealing a flash of familiar features: sharp cheekbones, a narrow jaw, and striking eyes. Jamie's breath hitched. "It couldn't be Evelyn," he gasped, nearly stumbling backward. "Surprised to see me?" Evelyn's voice was cool and deliberate, tinged with an edge that sent shivers down his spine. "I wish it hadn't come to this, but I had to know if the truth was still buried." Gasps erupted from the gathering, a mixture of disbelief and admiration mixing in the air. The judge's expression shifted to one of recognition, then wariness. "Evelyn Flick, you vanished years ago." The room buzzed with murmured disbelief as people struggled to process the revelation. Jamie's heart raced as he tried to connect the dots. Why was she here? What truth was she uncovering? "I'm not here to cause trouble," Evelyn continued, casting a glance at the officer who was still positioned near the exit, waiting for a signal. "I'm here because the man you speak of isn't just a man, it's a part of a much larger story, one that the whole town has been kept in the dark about." "What did you mean by that?" Jamie blurted out, stepping forward despite the crowd's collective retreat. Evelyn locked eyes with him, fire burning in her gaze. "He's connected to the reason I left and why so many people are still suffering under a veil of lies. The signs are all around us, Jamie. They've always been here." The words hung heavy in the air, charged with foreboding. Judge Smith raised an eyebrow, the shock fading into steely resolve. "Then tell us the truth. We need to know now." Evelyn chuckled softly, but there was no warmth in it. "The truth isn't simple. It's messy and tangled up with loyalty and betrayal. But I can start by telling you about the night I disappeared." Before she could divulge more, Officer Daniels rushed forward, concern etched on his features. "We need to protect everyone here. You can't just walk in and expect us to believe." She silenced him with another gesture, her eyes sweeping across the room. "Every moment that passes, you are losing time to act. You need to decide quickly. Are you brave enough to face what is coming?" The tension in the courtroom spiked, a molten blend of concern and curiosity. Jamie felt every heartbeat echo in his chest, the uncertainty wrapping around him like a vice. "What is coming?" someone finally dared to ask. Evelyn stepped closer, lowering her voice to a near whisper, "A reckoning of sorts. And it's time for all of you to make a choice, confront the past or let it consume you." The weight of her words settled uneasily among them, a restless shiver of anticipation dancing in the air. Jamie stared at Evelyn, caught between disbelief and the urgency of her warning. He didn't know whether to trust her or question everything he thought he understood. As the tension became palpable, another commotion erupted from outside, reminding them that time wasn't on their side. Jamie felt the urge to act surge through him again. He had to know more. He had to move. Before he could speak, the courtroom doors slammed open again, revealing chaos and the sight of menacing figures gathering just outside, eyes glinting with an intent that could only mean one thing: what were they stepping into now? Would they be ready for whatever was coming next? Evelyn's voice sank into a hush as she focused on the figures outside, the sudden chill sucking the warmth from the room. A thick tension hung in the air, urging everyone to breathe with caution. Jamie's heart raced, pulsing hard against his ribs as he moved closer to the door, instinctively positioned like a shield for those around him. "Everyone, stay back," Judge Smith commanded, her eyes fierce as she turned to assess the situation. Jamie felt a mix of hope and dread pulsing in his veins. Would they actually have to face whatever it was lurking just beyond the threshold? Just then, the first of the figures slipped into the dim light of the courtroom, a tall, broad-shouldered man wearing a dark jacket, his face partially obscured. The murmurs of the spectators grew louder, simmering with panic, and Jamie instinctively turned to Evelyn. Her expression was resolute, but Jamie could see uncertainty flickering beneath her composed exterior. "Do they know?" he whispered, panic creeping into his tone. "About you?" Evelyn shook her head slowly, and for a moment, he saw a flicker of vulnerability that grounded him. "I can't tell you that yet. But we can't let them." Before she finished, the doors crashed against the walls as two more figures entered. Their menacing posture betrayed their intent, and the courtroom erupted into chaos, people shouting, scrambling for the exits, confusion radiating in waves. "Stay calm," Officer Daniels shouted, brandishing his weapon and stepping forward, ready to protect the judge and anyone who needed help. "Step back and identify yourselves." One of the newcomers, with a smirk that could cut glass, lifted his hand in an exaggerated gesture of mock surrender. "Calm. In this quaint little theater of secrets?" He chuckled darkly, surveying the crowd of terrified faces. "How cute. Enough. This is a court of law." Judge Smith barked, standing her ground, though the tremor in her voice gave away the tension. Jamie felt every eye on her and every breath in the room stake a claim to the growing confrontation. "I came to deliver a message," said the smirking figure, leaning against the side of the doorframe with ease. "But don't worry, we won't keep you too long. Just long enough for you to understand how naive you all really are." As he spoke, Jamie's eyes darted to Evelyn. Her brows knitted together, a fierce intensity igniting in her gaze. Suddenly, without warning, she stepped away from the confines of their small group toward the figure standing in the doorway. "You don't know anything about our strength," she declared, her voice firm and unwavering. "Strength? From who?" "You." The man scoffed, but Jamie could see the flicker of uncertainty in his eyes, a crack in the facade of bravado. "From each other," Evelyn shot back, her voice rising in volume and clarity, cutting through the chaotic energy of the room as if all were still. "You underestimate this town, its people, what they have endured. We're not here to be cowed." The silence that followed her words struck Jamie hard. Courage surged within him, pushing him forward as he stepped beside her. "She's right," he declared, feeling the weight of his words. "Whatever you want, it ends here. We're not backing down." The air felt electric, a blend of fear and defiance swirling in the space between fearsome threats and unfaltering souls. Would they truly find the resolve to stand against the shadows creeping into their lives? A low chuckle reverberated from the figure, his smile widening. "Well, isn't this just delightful? Tough talk from a bunch whose secrets are about to unravel. Let us see how brave you are when the truth comes knocking at your door again." His words hung in the air, a stinging reminder of choices yet to be made. The courtroom felt smaller now, alive with urgency. Jamie glanced at Evelyn, his heart heavy yet hopeful. They had a fight ahead, and it wasn't just against the figures at the door. It was against the tangled web they'd all been caught in. "Prepare yourselves," Evelyn whispered fiercely, "the reckoning has just begun." How could they start to unravel decades of secrets? As Jamie looked around, determination set in his heart. He knew they couldn't shy away, instead, they must confront whatever darkness loomed ahead. Would they be strong enough to face the truth when it finally released itself? The atmosphere was charged, thick enough to slice through. Jamie felt sweat bead on his forehead as he held his breath, ready to defend. Every heartbeat echoed with the urgency of the moment, a reminder of everything at stake. The crowd held still, eyes wide in fear, and all voices quieted, waiting for what would happen next. "Come now," the grinning figure taunted. "Are you really willing to put yourselves on the line for one another? For a so-called strength that may not even exist?" He pushed off the doorframe, sauntering toward them with casual confidence, his presence overshadowing Jamie and Evelyn. They had to make a stand, but Jamie's mind raced. Was confronting this man truly the right choice? Out of the corner of his eye, he saw Evelyn's jaw set tighter. She was ready to fight, and that alone sparked something fierce in him. Together, they stood firm as the figure approached, the courtroom walls closing in around them. "What is your message?" Evelyn demanded, her voice stronger than Jamie felt inside. "Who sent you? Spit it out, or I'll make you." The man paused, intrigued. "Ah, feisty. I like that." He tilted his head, considering her with a mix of amusement and disdain. "Tell me, how far would you go to protect your precious little town? Your secrets are whispered like cryptic lullabies in the night, and trust me, they're on everyone's lips now. I don't just have a message. I have an ultimatum." "Enough with the theatrics," Officer Daniels barked, stepping forward, gun drawn. "Speak plainly, or you'll regret crossing into this courtroom." "Regret?" The man chuckled, amusement dancing in his eyes. "Oh, this is just the beginning." His gaze flitted back to Jamie and Evelyn. "There's much more at stake than you realize. I'm only here to make sure you embrace the truth or lose everything." Jamie's heart lurched at the implication. He wanted to shout, to demand answers, but the words felt stuck in his throat. He glanced at Evelyn, whose eyes flickered with determination and fear, two sides of the same coin battling within her. "Truth," she said quietly, almost a whisper, but it pulsed with tension. "What do you want from us?" Then, just as hope began to dim, the man straightened, revealing a hidden resolve in Evelyn's posture. "You'll find out soon enough. Just know that we hold the keys. We can unlock secrets that would shatter you," he answered smoothly, extending his arms wide, like an unwelcome harbinger. Gasps broke through the crowd, a shudder of disbelief and dread. Jamie clenched his fists. "This couldn't be how it ends." "We're not weak," he declared, stepping forward, voice strong yet cracking like thunder. "Whatever you think you can take from us, you'll find we're tougher. We're family, friends, and we'll fight back if you dare to threaten us." The figure's sneer faltered for a moment, and in that fleeting second, Jamie saw something beneath the bravado: fear. Shock. He wasn't sure, but it was enough to give him courage. They could push back, maybe, just maybe, they didn't have to face this alone. "Are you all in?" Evelyn asked the crowd, her voice rising above the tension. "This is our home. We can't let them hurt us. Not now." With a fierce determination igniting in the group, hands began to grasp one another, faces turning resolute. Jamie scanned the room, he saw nods, solidarity forming. This was a moment of unity. They were ready to defend what mattered. The smirking figure watched, his expression shifting as Jamie felt a swell of hope. "You all think you're standing strong, but wait until your secrets outshine your courage," he warned, stepping back toward the door. Then, as quickly as they had come, the trio turned to leave, that laughter trailing behind, slinking into the shadows of the jarring courtroom. Did they mean it? Jamie breathed, the air finally pouring out. What secrets could they possibly know? Evelyn's face steeled, reflecting both fear and determination. Whatever it is, we must stand together. We have to find out what they're hiding. And we need to reclaim our truth before it's too late. Panic threatened to bubble up again. But it was swallowed by their resolve. The fight ahead loomed darker than anything they had faced before. Who were the figures really, and what truth would they expose? Jamie's breath caught. This wasn't over. As he squeezed Evelyn's hand, the tension coiling within him felt different, less about fear. More about fighting, uncovering, reclaiming. What were they all willing to sacrifice, and what would become of them when the truth finally emerged? The courtroom remained electric with tension, that charged energy lingering in the air long after the trio's departure. Faces shifted from fear to determination, and murmurs filled the space as the crowd began to process what had just happened. Jamie felt the weight of their collective anxiety, but also a flicker of something stronger, a growing seed of defiance planted firmly in his chest. Evelyn looked at him, eyes fierce. "We can't wait for them to come back. We need to do something now." "Like what?" Jamie asked, glancing around at their neighbors, many of whom still wore expressions of shock. "What can we even do?" "Find out what those secrets are," Evelyn replied, her voice steady with purpose. "If they were bold enough to show themselves today, they must be tracking us. Let us find them first." "Yeah, but how?" Jamie's fingers tightened around Evelyn's as he felt the surge of anxiety return. All around them, people were gathered, unsure and afraid. "They act like they know us already. And what if they're somehow watching?" The tension tightened in the room as Officer Daniels stepped forward, his gun still holstered but his body tense. "I'll need a meeting with the town leadership. We have to strategize, dig into anything unusual that has happened lately. If they know our secrets, we need a countermeasure." At that moment, Jamie's heart raced. Was it possible that the town was in cahoots with this stranger? It felt unreal, the idea that their own community might harbor threats amongst them. Evelyn let go of his hand, moving toward Officer Daniels to speak with him urgently. Jamie allowed himself a moment to breathe, scanning the crowd, their neighbors, their friends, all looking scared but ready. They needed him to step up, just as they had done when pressure mounted earlier. Suddenly, a voice cut through the room. "We should contact the media," someone suggested, a man in the back wearing a baseball cap. "Let the world see what's happening in our town. Let us not hide in the shadows." That idea sparked something inside Jamie. He's right. He stepped forward, encouraged by the support of the crowd's murmurs. "We shouldn't let them silence us. We'll gather our community's stories, share what we know, and tell our truth." In unison, the crowd began to rally, voices overlapping in agreement. The hum of discussion ignited further plans, emails to neighbors, phone calls to friends, and even social media posts. The air was thick with purpose now, a shift away from intimidation and toward action. Yet amidst the energized voices, Jamie couldn't shake the lingering concern. What if revealing their truths only made things worse? What if that trio really did hold the keys to all their secrets? Evelyn returned to his side, determination etched in her features. "We've got each other, Jamie. Whatever happens, we'll face it together, right?" He nodded. "Yeah. Together." But doubts loomed like storm clouds on the horizon. They were stepping into uncharted territory, and unknown consequences could lie ahead. As people began to disperse, making plans for their next steps, Jamie lingered, scanning the faces around him filled with hope, resolve, and fear. The people already felt like family, and it was hard not to wonder what it would take to truly unite them against whatever threat was out there. Just then, a figure emerged from the darkness that had settled in the corner of the courtroom, holding a folder close to his chest. He paused, locking eyes with Jamie. Something flickered in his gaze, fear or urgency. Jamie couldn't tell. "Wait!" Jamie called out. The man hesitated, shifting nervously, but offered no words. In that moment, Jamie felt the pull, a strong urge to discover what was hidden in that folder. Was this the key to everything? "Who are you?" he asked, stepping toward the man, heart pounding with a mix of curiosity and dread. What do you know? The man's lips twitched, and for a brief second, he looked almost pleading. You don't want to get involved with this, but you already are, and then he turned to leave, disappearing into the shadows. Jamie's gut twisted. Were they really in over their heads? What had they unwittingly signed up for? He and Evelyn exchanged glances, fear creeping back along with the pressing volume of the unfolding mystery. This wasn't just about secrets anymore, it was about truth and survival. As the room faded to chaos around them, Jamie knew one thing for sure: he had to chase after that man, to uncover whatever secrets he carried with him. The truth was calling, and it wouldn't be long until the darkness came for them all. Jamie didn't think twice. He dashed after the figure, weaving through the remnants of the crowd still buzzing with energy. The echoes of their plans to speak out faded as he focused on the man who had slipped away. His heart raced harder with every step. He couldn't lose this chance. Hey, wait! He shouted again, desperation creeping into his voice. The man glanced back, his features hidden in the shadows but something resolute in his posture as he picked up speed. There was an urgency that made the hairs on Jamie's neck stand up. What was in that folder? Why was he trying to get away? Evelyn caught up with him, her expression a blend of concern and determination. Are you sure about this? She asked, breathless. What if he is dangerous? I need to know, Jamie replied, voice steady despite the chaos swirling in his mind. There is something about him, and what he said. If we're really in this together, I can't just stand here. The man turned a corner, and Jamie pressed on, the sound of his own quickening pulse drowning out any rational thought. They exited the courtroom and plunged into the dimly lit corridor, the smell of old wood and dust filling the air. Jamie's adrenaline surged, propelling him forward until he spotted the man coming to a halt against a wall, gasping for breath. The folder slipped from his hands, spilling papers onto the ground like leaves in autumn. Wait! I just want to talk. Jamie called out, coming to a stop a few feet away. He could see the man's face now worn, haunted, like he was carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. The figure shook his head, eyes wide with fear. You don't know what you're getting into. He knelt to gather the scattered documents, his hands trembling. They will come for you, for all of you. What do you mean? Jamie pressed, stepping closer, feeling a wild mix of anger and fear. Who are they? The man's body trembled, as if in the presence of something that made him cold. They know everything. Your secrets, your fears. They twist your lives. I might have a way to help, but... He looked up, searching Jamie's eyes. It comes with a cost. What kind of cost? Evelyn's voice cut in, sharp and critical, as she joined Jamie at his side. Silence, the man replied, his voice quiet now. What's revealed today could change the town forever, and that's not something everyone will accept. You have to choose: speak out and risk everything, or keep what you know hidden to stay safe. Jamie felt the walls of the corridor closing in on him. But we can't just sit back. We have to protect our own. The man stood, taking a step back, eyes darting like he was expecting shadows to emerge behind him. You think this is about protection? You're being watched, and every move you make is being counted. I know how it feels. I was in your shoes and... He faltered. Just then, the flickering neon lights overhead hummed louder, and Jamie's thoughts raced through scenarios where everything could go wrong: a community torn apart, secrets unveiled, friendships destroyed. Look, if you know something that could help us, please, Jamie urged, desperation lacing his words. We need your help. The man paused, uncertainty etched on his face as he glanced up and down the hallway, checking for signs of danger. Meet me at the old bridge tonight. Midnight. I'll show you what you need to know. With that, he spun on his heel and rushed down the corridor, disappearing just as he had emerged. Evelyn instantly turned to Jamie, her expression fired up. Do you think he'll show? I don't know, Jamie frowned, the weight of uncertainty heavy on his chest. But we have to go. If this is the answer we've been looking for, we can't let fear stop us now. As the sun sunk lower in the sky, Jamie couldn't shake the feeling that while they stood on the cusp of a breakthrough, they were also teetering on the edge of something perilous. What awaited them at the bridge? Would they find answers or a trap waiting to ensnare them both? The question pulsed in the back of Jamie's mind as they turned to leave the courthouse, stepping out into the thickening shadows of the evening. The night enveloped Maplewood like a misty cloak, the small town illuminated only by the distant glow of street lamps and the flickering stars overhead. Jamie and Evelyn walked side by side, their footsteps echoing on the pavement, each step heavier with anticipation. The old bridge was just a few blocks away, yet it felt more like a journey into the unknown. Jamie's heart raced as the bridge came into view, a structure as familiar as it was haunted by secrets. Memories swirled around him, the kids jumping off into the water in summer, the picnics they used to have, laughter carried by the wind. Do you think he'll actually be here? Evelyn's question cut through the silence. I don't know, Jamie admitted, the anxiety creeping in. But we have to find out. This is the chance to reclaim our power. As they stepped onto the weathered wood of the bridge, they noticed the shadows shift beneath the moonlight, an unsettling reminder of the uncertainties still looming over them. The sound of water rippling below added a haunting melody to the night, a soundtrack to the tense anticipation hanging around them like fog. Minutes felt like hours. Just as doubt began to creep in, they heard footsteps. A figure stepped into the light, breathless and anxious. It was the man from before, clutching the folder tightly against his chest. I made it, he said, his voice a mix of relief and apprehension. But we're running out of time. Time for what? Jamie pressed, urgency making his words firm. What do you have for us? The man looked around, as if assessing their safety, before he lowered his voice. There's a network, a group intent on keeping the town's dark history hidden. They've been watching every move you and your friends make. Those striking figures you encountered today. They're only the tip of the iceberg. Evelyn took a step closer, piquing his interest. Then you know who they are? Yes, he confirmed, trembling slightly. They're tied to the thefts, the suffering, everything that has plagued Maplewood. Years of history, long buried, are about to be unearthed unless you act. Jamie felt his pulse quicken, caught between fear and determination. What do we have to do? Tonight, the man urged, sliding the folder towards them. Inside are names, accounts, everything you need. But you must be cautious, expose it all, and you'll stir a hornet's nest. But if you don't, they'll continue their reign of terror, and people like Mrs. Wilkins will remain vulnerable. Evelyn's eyes flickered with resolve. We need to share this with the community, to stand united. If we get the town together, we can't back down. But the man shook his head, a haunted look washing over his features. No, it's not that simple. There are those within your community who will want to protect the silence. Your fight won't just be against the figures lurking in the shadows, it will be against those hiding in plain sight. A chill ran down Jamie's spine as he realized how intertwined everything had truly become. Then we need to expose it carefully. What you've shared, we can verify, but we mustn't underestimate the danger. I want to help, the man offered, passion igniting in his eyes. I can guide you, but we need a plan. Just then, the ground beneath them rumbled with the distant sound of approaching vehicles. Jamie's instincts flared. They're already coming. We need to go back to town. The trio raced back toward Maplewood, their minds racing and hearts pounding, knowing the stakes had never been higher. As they reached the edge of town, Jamie could see a cluster of headlights approaching a dark line of vehicles, and his gut twisted with fear. Get everyone out! He shouted, adrenaline firing up his body. Call the others. We can't let them push us around anymore. Evelyn grabbed his arm, determination blazing in her eyes. This is our chance to stand together as one. If we're going to expose the truth, it starts now. Within moments, sirens and headlights flooded the street as townsfolk began to gather in a supportive wave. The crowd, once fraught with uncertainty, transformed into a sea of allies. Standing shoulder to shoulder, defiant and ready for a fight. Jamie felt that familiar swell of courage. It wasn't just about one person anymore, it was about their community, their home. As the dark vehicles rolled to a stop, Jamie stepped forward, his heart pounding in his chest. "This ends here," he bellowed, voice rising above the murmurs of packed neighbors. "We're not going to hide anymore, we're going to reclaim our town." The air crackled with anticipation, and together they stood, braced for the confrontation ahead, spirits ignited with a fierce unity. And just like that, in his heart, Jamie realized the time for change had come. The reckoning was at hand, and they would rise together or fall together. No longer would Maplewood cower in the shadows. Hope surged like a tide, ready to wash away the darkness, revealing the light that had always been just below the surface. It was time to fight. As the figures emerged from the vehicles, Jamie stood tall, shoulder to shoulder with those he loved, ready to face whatever emerged from the night. This was their moment together. They would not just tell the truth, they would live it, and as the first figure stepped forward, Jamie felt renewed. They would not yield. Maplewood was stronger than fear. This was their community. And they would protect it. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories, leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us reach more people, comment your reactions and feelings about this thrilling conclusion, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how the power of community can spark change. This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.